How do we deal with doubt as a Christian? What do we do when we doubt, when we have tasted and seen that the Lord is good? Praise Lord. The last time we looked into whether we can trust God, and we saw how God gives us the responsibility to evaluate our choices and choose for ourselves whether we will follow God or not. And we also looked through the Gideon story how God is not going to force you into believing in Him without a valid reason. Well, how do we deal with doubt as a Christian? We're going to look into the book of Joshua, but first we look into an analogy. പുതുതായി വിശ്വാസത്തിൽ വന്ന ഒരാളെ മാറ്റി നിർത്തി അവർ ചോദിക്കുക, എങ്ങനെ സംശയങ്ങളും ചോദ്യങ്ങളും ഉള്ള സമയത്തൊക്കെ യേശുവാണ് സത്യം എന്ന് ഉറപ്പുവരുത്തി എന്നത്? ആൻഡ് മോസ്റ്റ്ലി ദി ആൻസർ ദേ വിൽ ഗിവ് യു ഇസ്, I look back into my life and see how God changed me. They'll look back into their life and tell, well, God changed my lifestyle. God took me inside out, renewed me. And that's the same basic principle we see almost every time in the Bible. Whenever believers doubt, they look back into what God has done. Why do they do that? Because the idea of God is that He never changes. So if He never changes, then He will never change from His goodness. That's the reason. You can trust God today and tomorrow because God is still God. God is the same yesterday, today and tomorrow. In the beginning of Joshua, we see God telling Joshua, don't be discouraged. Have courage. I am with you. Do not be afraid. And He keeps repeating this to Joshua. What do we understand by this? We understand that he was a bit fearful of what can come. He had this new responsibility of leading a people called Israel into a new land and confronting new peoples and conquering lands. So it's a big job, and he probably had some fear. But in the end of the chapter, around chapters 23 and 24, we see how Joshua actually succeeded in the job he was assigned, and we also see his source of confidence in whatever he does. Whenever he is giving a reason as to why he can trust God, he always goes back to the Exodus and what he saw with his own eyes God do through Moses, the guy before him. In chapter 24, he tells Israel of their history, of how Abraham came from Mesopotamia into Canaan, and Jacob went and hid from Esau to Padan Aram and came back from there, and then of how God sent Moses and Aaron and afflicted the Egyptians, and how He brought the people of Israel out of Egypt, and how He brought them into the land of the Amorites, and how He fought against the Amorites for them, how God drove out these nations who had giants in their army, who had way bigger armies. That's his source of confidence, what God did in the past. And you see this all the time. Psalm 78 and Psalm 77, you see the psalmist going back to the Exodus. And the book of Habakkuk, you even see there how Habakkuk says, you have done it before, you can still do it again. In our day, you can do it in Habakkuk 3. This is the basis of trusting in God. Look back into your life and see how God was faithful to you. Then that means, why would you question if He'll be faithful tomorrow or not? May God bless you.